Today I'm going to show you how to paint outside the box, aka let's go hard in the paint. Yo dog, Candy Boucher here. Next, level painting, hitting you up on the literal best of all days. Here on this glorious Friday in the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California, we're hitting you up yet again with another painting tutorial. Let's address the elephant in the room right out the gate, the big purple elephant as it were, the next level painting, ancient Chinese technique hoodie. This is one of a kind. This is a top donator giveaway on Twitch. If you don't know what Twitch is, check the links in the description box below for your chance to take this hoodie home. All right, let's talk about it. Today, we're gonna be using Secret Weapon miniatures, new 15 paints again. We're also gonna be using Elrik's, Hobbies, Chaos Base, and the Artisan Shoppe's paintbrush. We're gonna be using 3 of our major sponsors' products all in one video. Last time we talked about Secret Weapon miniatures, we talked about how they take the guesswork out of the painting process. Well, now I'm gonna flip that shit 180 degrees. We're gonna completely reinsert the guesswork. We're gonna think outside the box. We're gonna be going hard in the paint, and I'm gonna do something crazy. My man Justin at Secret Weapon Miniatures, he is a renowned realistic historical style painter, and that's when he went to his mountain and developed his formulas for his paints. That's what was in mind, the most realistic weather tones to capture that look. Well, he's gonna hate this video because we're not gonna do any of that. We're gonna be using some of these very realistic colors to use some exciting chaos themed colors, some coruscating warp flame kind of transitions. Of course, we are gonna introduce a very stark realistic metal, and we're gonna combo this poppy comic book looking element on top of that. That's one of my styles, okay? It's gonna be a great video. You're not gonna wanna miss a thing. If you guys don't mind, let me shout out a couple of clutch individuals over on my Patreon page. My man Wes, my man James, the Holtz, Zach, Brad, Jacob, Daniel, Kyle, Buzzmoo, Andres, Tim, Rupert, Artur, Flamey, John, Peter. Thank you guys for coming to clutch this week on Patreon. Patreon is my personal crowdfunding page. It is how I keep these lights on. Thank you guys. And of course, thelongwar.net is the home of the battle reports. Let's do this thing, guys. Secret Weapon Miniatures, Dark Iron. This is a real solid dark metallic. We're going to use the airbrush flow improver as usual. Combo it off. Mix it together in our pot. Real simple, guys. You've seen me do this dozens of times. We're going to stir it in. And of course, we're going to use the patented backflow technique, the gangster gumbo. Here we go. A couple of thin coats will do us fine here. We're going to be doing some off-the-wall stuff here in a minute. But obviously, that's a diamond plate floor. So we're going to paint that metal. Obviously, we're not thinking too far outside the box just yet. Bear with me. It's going to get swifty. We're just going to do a couple thin coats, like I said, build it up, get a nice solid dark base so we can combo off with a highlight as usual. Feeling it, not too shabby. Let it dry, come back on for a second coat, get all that maximum coverage. We're using a gray primer here because it's all I got mainly, but gray's pretty good. Now we're going to switch over to engine metal. This is a nice shiny, kind of almost a warm metal. It's got an interesting coloring to it. I really like it. My man Justin at Secret Weapon Miniatures did his homework with this formula. He does come from a historical background and he loves them realistic tones. Let's see if we can make him proud today. But I know he hates it when I do this. We're going to do some realistic stuff here, but I promise we're going to take some of the paints that he's so painstakingly researched and we're going to make them do things he didn't think about. Yo, check it out. Quick highlight around the rim. Give us a nice, interesting transition. You know, we own an airbrush, so we're going to transition whenever possible. Try to get that nice, fresh airbrush look. Feeling it? All right, here we go. Verdigris blue. That's that oxide color. Now we're going to be using the Artisan Shop paintbrushes, an official sponsor here. Check these guys out. And we're going to just bang it down. Now, typically this blue has been marketed as a patina, an oxide color, a very natural and realistic color that my man Justin has researched when he's doing his historicals, trying to get them absolute realistic tones in the weathering world. And we're like, not today. Today we're using this as a blue. And we're going to bang it down do some interesting and creative stuff here. We're going to be using these paints in a way that maybe they weren't labeled or intended to be used, because it's time to be brave in the Beats Lab. So we're going to just pile it on, do a quick base coat, do the whole Chaos Star here on this Elrik's Hobbies base. Get a good look. That's a really solid blue. Now, if you think about that blue in terms of, hey, I wouldn't mind painting a whole Ultramarines army this color. This is a great blue. Sometimes the paints are labeled a certain way and you stop thinking about them. Purple heat. Now, this is marketed as one stage in a heat transition effect, using a blue, a purple, and an orange. But I'm using it here to start glazing it off. This verdigris blue. We're going to start doing some gangster wet dry brush blending technique, kind of a lackadaisical gangster approach to just blending paints together. It's sort of wet, it's sort of dry. We're sort of just letting it run over the ridges. It's going to be a little bit back and forth. It's pretty laid back, guys. It's absolutely be brave mode. A lot of people get really fixated on this every stroke counts kind of thing, but sometimes you can just put your headphones on, listen to an audiobook, and just go, man. Be an artist sometimes. So that's what we're doing right here. We're just letting it go, using a little bit of this purple mixed in with the blue, then adding more and more of the purple as we go. That purple heat's doing work here. You can see it's glazing on real nice. And then, hey, maybe we're going to come back and slap some blue back into it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel just yet. That's what I'm doing right now. But you can see that we are trying to transition the blue into this purple, painting this Chaos Star in a very interesting way while thinking outside the box with the colors that are presented to us in the new 15 from Secret Weapon Miniatures. So far, so good with the Artisan Shops brush. I'm going to paint the entire base with this brush. Give it a good workout. Being real rough on it. We're not doing anything delicate here. So you can see this is just a thin glaze, and we're moving back and forth. So we're kind of glazing it in, but then we're quickly wet blending it back and forth with the blue. It's a pretty fun technique. Getting an interesting transition. Don't worry, we'll let it dry in between applications, and we're gonna make this base look good. I promise you, it looks like shit right now, but it's not gonna look like shit by the end of this video. Gotta stick with it. Show you the whole process, no movie magic right here. So we're gonna definitely figure this, basically my process is I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this. I just know I want to use every color in the range. So as we start adding this purple, I'm starting to see my vision. So we're going to grab this verdigris pale green. This is a very realistic oxide color, carefully developed by Secret Weapon Miniatures to help you with that weathering game. And obviously you saw last week's video, we did a lot of weathering. So now I'm going to start blending this into that blue and that purple. And now I'm trying to create a glowing, almost like a light source off the base somewhere, where this Chaos Star that's creeping over this metal is got maybe an inner glow to it, some kind of coruscating, horrible demon lights. I don't know. So you see it's a combination of wet blending, glazing, and dry brushing. We're making sure to catch the tops ridges of those squigglies with a little bit of this pale green, and we're letting it mingle with the blue, so it's barely got any green to it at all now. It's turned into a nice aqua color. It's very nice. We're getting some very bright and vibrant tones out of these Secret Weapon miniature paints. Okay, now it's time to start really dialing in our vision right now. We're going to grab the verdigris dark green, another very realistic. It's even a muted tone here, right? Now we're going to combo that off, because I decided I want there to be a nice transition, a nice corrugating, disgusting, pulsing color here. So we're going to introduce this green, and we're going to let it mingle with all that pale green. You see that as we're blending it together? But we're getting a very interesting color. You can definitely see the creep of these transitions. Very demonic, very cool. Just working it back and forth, pulling out more green as we think we need it, and then maybe dipping a little bit in the blue as we think we need it. And we're going to be sure to drag some of this new green across the tops of those squigglies. Like I said, it's kind of an aggressive wet dry brush technique. We're doing almost everything I've ever showed you at once right now. Here's a little bit of a wet dry brush, letting some of that purple mingle, getting a nice highlight on that ridge. There we go. Too easy. Very lackadaisical approach here. We're just being artists right now, guys. We're just letting it happen. Magic is happening. So now we're going to start focusing down on the peaks of some of these ridges, on these squigglies, making sure they get nice little glowing points, give them something really interesting to look at, a real sharp point. Maybe it's about to burst. Maybe that's where the energy is stored. I don't know. Demon stuff. It just looks cool. I like to highlight things that are raised. That's just kind of my system. Feeling it. The vision is coming to me. I'm digging it. But we got more to do here, guys. We're definitely going to have to take this thing to the next level. And obviously the diamond plate, we haven't even barely touched it. It's just solid metal right now. A little bit of a highlight. So as we reinforce this, the vision is coming to me. It's going to be a classic, realistic piece of metal, maybe a little weathering, and it's going to have a very unrealistic and very fantastic element to it in this demonic creep, this chaos star. That is basically, I'm now committed to that. We got to make this thing look fantastic. We got to make it glow. We got to make it pop. It's got to be vibrant. So now we're going to slow it down. And we're going to start paying attention to those details more and more as we start advancing the focus of this piece. So we were very broad strokes. And now you see we're coming in doing some very detailed work here. We're reintroducing that pale green. And we're highlighting some of these ridges. And we're even doing this quick technique here. We're just drawing a bunch of lines along the edge to kind of give you that, further that glow effect. And also by doing quick little dots and lines, it gives it an organic feel, like a disgusting textured look. You see that? Very aggressive, very fast. It works really well in the basing worlds where there's going to be a model standing on this. So if anyone wants to spend time looking at the base, they'll notice that we did go the extra mile, but also we didn't bust our ass trying to make it look better than the model. Here we go, engine rust. This is a cool color. Real quick, I just juiced it in real fast, which is basically a lazy glaze. And I'll show you right now what I mean by that. So a lazy glaze, a quick juice, is basically when you take the color, water it down to the point where the pigments are basically separating from the medium, and then you just go nuts. And that's how you get that nice realistic rust. It's real easy, but we're going to do it right now with the original blue. The verdigris blue, we're turning it into a quick glaze, watering it down, and we're using it to blend some of these peaks and these transitions back together to make it a little bit natural, because some of them are a little aggressive. As we're making the base look its best, I decided to come back in with a glaze, blend some of these peaks together, eliminate some of these brush strokes. It's going to give it a very natural look. It's very easy, but we're not glazing it very slowly and nurturing it up. We are juicing it. We're aggressive. We're just going crazy right here. We're letting it settle on the ridges where we're blending pieces together, but we're also letting it settle in some of the crevasses, which is a wash, right? So we're just using the paint, letting it flow, just feeling this model. I like that. The transition looks solid. I mean, like like I said, it's still back and forth, because now here we go. Let's grab some of that pale green, reinforce, narrow the focus, get in tight, make some of these peaks even brighter now that we've blended some of the valleys back in. There we go. There's a new peak. Make it look its best. Glowing, popping, vibrant. Right there. There's a new glow right there. There's a new piece. And so, like I always say, paints do different things when you apply them in different layers. The green over the blue looks different than the blue over the green. Sometimes you want to do both just to get a little bit of a cooler effect that's maybe just a small part of the model. But that's how you pay attention to detail. That's how you take it to the next level. You pay attention to these things. You're not afraid to experiment. You're not afraid to do things you've already done 3 times in the same model, just in a different order. That's what we do. Let's reinforce some of the highlights here along the edge of the base. This is going to be what sells it. We're going to have to keep reinforcing this ridge to really give it that nice glow. That's where that maximum transition is going to come from. Let's bang down the orange heat. This is the new heat. Orange heat, also in the series that's marketed as heat scoring for vents and engines. We're using it as a rust. So we're juicing it back in some of the more extreme areas of this diamond plate, giving it a nice two-tone rust effect. The engine rust is very realistic and very natural, but I like to pop it off. Now that we got all these nice, cool colors in the model, let's add a couple of warm colors in the form of this rust. Very simple. They look great together. It's a little exaggerated, but that's what I'm saying. Like, we're doing a little bit of this realistic weathering, and we're going to combo it off. Here's a great color, engine fluid. We're going to treat this as a glaze, right? It's a different blue, and we're going to kind of use it as a glaze and a wash. And we're going to come in real quick and blend some of these transitions together, let it settle in some of these valleys. But here's the best part. Engine fluid dries gloss, so it's going to be shiny and gross. Fresh oil, one of my new favorite colors, treat it as a wash. It's a very subtle wash that has a very specific look. It was totally designed and engineered by my man Justin at Secret Weapon to be the most realistic oil staining that you can do on metal. And you can see it's not a very aggressive wash at all. It's very natural, very subtle, and it absolutely looks oil stained. It's totally dirty. I love it. It also dries with a bit of a sheen, so it gives you that look of wetness and shine. Solid stuff here. Now, all this stuff that's going to be shiny, it's all good. If you do a nice light matte varnish with some Testors Model Masters, most of the shine will still be there. It might just knock it down to a satin. But if you wanted maximum shine, basically going to either have to matte varnish the brush by hand or do this after. I'm feeling that. That is basically a wash. That is some gangster wash tech right there. It's a very realistic metal. Now we're going back to the original 15 weathered wood, one of the greatest colors in the business. And we're going to mix some of that in with our pale green. And so that way we can put an exclamation mark on some of these highlights. We're going to finally pop them out. We're not using white. We're using weathered wood. It's an off-white. A lot of times you'll have more success with these interesting colors, these more vibrant colors, by using an ivory or off-white, a beige. And weathered wood is one of the best I've ever used. And there we go, reinforcing that rim. Like I said, it's all about making that ridge, that shiny, gross ridge, look its best. It's got to be very transition. It's got to go from a glowy color to a dark color and all the colors in between. So we are using many of the colors in the new 15 in a really strange way. This entire line, as I've said before, was marketed as a realistic weather line to help you in that model range where you're looking for that next level realism. I mean, competition grade. And we're saying, nah, let's go fantastic. Let's comic book this. Feeling it, love it. I'm having a great art day painting this base right now. We are nearing completion, but we have a few more effects to lock in. Here we go, Old Oil. This is a phenomenal color by the new 15 to Secret Weapon. It actually is a very similar color to the new oil, but it's thicker, darker, and has metal flakes mixed in. So it's got a bit of a metallic sheen even. Very deliberate in its design and its formula. So we're gonna pile it up against some of the stronger regions here that might be more in shadow. It's very grimy, very disgusting. And so basically where it's touching the metal, it's more grimy, more gross. In my mind, it's not even an oil, it's just a grime. It's very cool. And it dries very, very thick and very nasty. Okay, last pass with weathered wood, pure weathered wood, not mixed in at all with any of the greens. And we're finally gonna put that last exclamation point on that gross creep. It's fully glowy, it's fully transitioned, it has a very demonic feel right now, and I think we have achieved our comic book color scheme over a realistic, natural weathered piece. It's one of my favorite things to do when working in miniatures, to marry those two concepts together. They're not independent of each other, and I think you can work them into almost any project, guys. Feeling this? Fantastic. Quick shout out, Secret Weapon Miniatures new 15. Elrik's Hobbies. Check out this chaos base right here. Clutch as hell. And of course, we just beat the fuck out of an artisan shop paintbrush. So we did not give a fuck. Here we go. Check the links down in the description box below, guys. Thanks for watching.